This guy went off. He said, Jerry, I went and walked out of that theater and he couldn't think for a few minutes. He said he never heard so many niggers in one movie. So they find a way to say, oh, this is a great movie about this man going to go rescue that girl, but they can give you 100 niggas in between, and you're going to forget. The Help?
Yeah.
I said, well, I'm sorry, I can't go see The Help. I have lived long enough that I don't need to see another black woman in a uniform. When we got doctors, lawyers, teachers, don't show me a woman in we've been out of, we ain't Louise Beaver anymore, you know? So this is what I'm saying, and it angers me, but this poor brother, when he said, oh, jeez, he called me up, he said, Jerry, you just can't believe it, you can't believe it. So anyway, I could go on and on. My point is, this was my battle. This was my battle. And when I found white people telling me that I was on the right side, and Arnold Toynbee seeing me, the world's greatest living historian, because he couldn't believe what I was talking about, I rest my case. But they never let me, they took me to lunch to tell me, you'll never work in this town again. This is what they said. Jerry, but it is so nicely. Somebody said, well, they must have respected you because they don't even do that for white women. They don't take them to lunch. They just don't, you know, they just said, he said, have you ever thought of moving to Los Angeles, Chicago, or New York? I said, well, why would I do that when all my family's here? I wasn't getting it, you know, because I didn't know. They had taken me this nice lunch, and they were nicely telling me. He said, well, there's really no money for you in this town. And now I'm going back as a photojournalist to San Francisco Museum and Library, opening my new career as a photojournalist.
Now?
February 1st. I'm about to give you, going back on their territory. With that photo in Kyoto of this girl, let me tell you the Japanese. They're so precious. I went there I've been there 4 times, never paid a dime to go.
3.
Yeah. Saved, when the Buddhist priest sent me, he sent the ticket himself, and then I stayed on holy ground on the same, his brother's house, who's also a priest, had left and moved out, and Yoshi and I stayed. She was Yoshi was the interpreter because he didn't even speak English, and he still taught me what he needed. This lady, before this picture was taken, had just finished serving us tea. We went to a Japanese, all women's Japanese thing, you know, the dancers and everything else, and they came and served us green tea and cookies. She's a waitress. This is what their waitresses look like. And then I said, oh my God, look at that thing. Don't let her sit down. She sat down right in front of me. I grabbed that knife, and I just looked, only take a few minutes. I looked at her and I just said, just the way she's sitting. Look at the poise. So this is going to be the woman that's the key figure on the exhibit that I give. In other words, this will be on the invitation you get. This will be the one that goes out to the press that says, I'm having this. So let me quickly tell you that will be on February 1st. The exhibit opens San Francisco Museum and Library in San Francisco near City Hall. And then on the 24th of February, a Sunday afternoon from 2 to 4, we're going to have a 2-hour program. We're going to have a lot of Japanese people there. Some of them are jazz artists. They love jazz. And some of them will be dancers and whatever else. And we're going to have black people who love haiku poetry reciting their poetry. And some of them are published. And it's just going to be a beautiful evening of Japanese African-American children, so that and I'm going to have children there from grade school and up, so they don't have to believe the lie when they say, well, if you go over there, they hate you. Because I'm going to tell them they treated me like a queen. For the time I was there, that Buddhist priest, between he and Yoshi, they would talk to each other on the phone. I was just telling Lola, but he would talk on the phone in Japanese, call her up every morning, and I kept saying, Yoshi, what's he talking about? She said, he wants to know if you asked about anything that you wanted, because he's going to bring it the same day, the next day. Yeah. That's the way they, you know. And I was living on sacred ground. She said, Jerry, you know that the Japanese have to leave these grounds at 5 o'clock.
You stayed there.
And I got to sleep on the ground. So I'm just telling you, so I'm got the pictures of me walking around Kyoto with the Buddhist priest. We're all, kind of, our arms are locked together. We're walking around looking, and he's teaching me, you know, and it's some wonderful photographs. And so you will be getting a press release. Lola's getting a press release. She'll make sure you all get it. It gives you all the information. And the many Japanese friends that we've picked up, my other friends that I knew, and the young man that I said was in, he's going to be there. And then it'll have a two-parter, and it also will say on February 25th, there'll be the program from 2 to 4 over in San Francisco.
So you said February 25th?
No, do I get it 25th?
You said 24th the first day, so.
24th.
It's a Sunday.
It is
sure.
Sunday the 24th. They'll let me.
Okay.
Yeah, I always
Just
said the
check.
25th, starting when I first heard it. I keep saying
At the
February 24th on a Sunday
Mhm.
afternoon at the museum
At the museum.
and public library, and then we're trying to get Yoshi's to have. She has a place in Oakland and in San Francisco. We're gonna go. I have a friend going to her to try and have her give us a champagne reception afterwards. So we're praying. He's so beautiful. So this is my new career. Going back to that territory, and God opens. I just said, "It was when you go back." Oh, hey, I don't worry about anything. God's in charge. When He brings me back, He's bringing me back with something brand new. So now I'll publish this book of photos, and it means that if I want to go to Paris and take pictures now, I have a new thing. I don't want to be stuck in a little box anymore. I'll be traveling with my photos, and I'll be on television as a guest, selling my books and having fun for the rest of my life. That's the way I'm feeling.
Wow. For a second.
Oh shoot! Oh, this. Okay. Now, do you have any Q&A? And I know we're running late, right?
Yes. If anybody has any questions, we can open it up.
Yeah, I'd like you to ask questions.
Okay, I missed what happened that you said you no longer had.
Well, KGO, you want me to give you the down and dirty on it?
Yeah.
Well, okay. This was. I believe in telling the truth. I spared that in the book because Russ Coughlin was general manager, and I went over. I had given that speech you heard. I see how people are. They didn't want to say anything at that time, but they started saying, "How do we?" So they sent the guys over for. Honey, you have to deal with these people to understand the genius. They had KGO come over and said, "Oh, we want you to try out for. We want to give you to the big time." I was with KBHK, which was that wasn't even a UHF station, B station. So I said, "Okay." So I went over there and said, "Well, you beat out all 17 people. Beware of Greeks bearing gifts."
Okay.
I'm just as nonchalant and cool. I don't know what's going on. And they they begged me, "Oh, you got to come over, come over." 4 months we negotiated, and so my general manager, he said, "Well, Jerry, I think that's really a great opportunity for you." Really. So of course I went and they gave me this big going away party on the air. Now dig this. The general manager came on the last show that I gave, unannounced. They surprised me. Oh, surprise! The general manager has something to say. So he gets on there. The final, what do I do it when they're they butter you up so you can slide down real easy. Okay? So they were buttering me up. And this is how you learn. You have to get screwed to get learned. Is that right? And you know what? So I'm up there. I'm as innocent as a little thing. I'm taking everybody honest at their word. I go over to he comes on the stage. Oh, the general manager's on the stage. "Jerry, we want to tell you how much we're going to miss you, and you've been such a wonderful person, and we missed you so much. This show is going off the air because nobody can replace you." Now, is your ego going? Where's your ego going? I mean, boom. I go over to KGO. I sit down, and the guy, a black producer, said, "Oh, Jerry, why don't you have a seat and just take it easy, sit around, and we're waiting to hear from New York, get your show that was up." Now, we negotiated 3 months on the show. I sat there for about 2 weeks, doing nothing. They were paying me to stay off the air. And finally, he said, I said, "Well, what is this job?" He said, "Well, it turns out that there was some misconception about the show. And so we want you to stay here, and if you don't mind, you'll be my secretary." So I'm now a secretary.
Oh, God.
I called in Joe Johnson, who was in the mayor's office at the time, with Joe Aliotta. Joe Johnson went around and got the heads of the biggest black guys in IBM and all the big corporate people, and he came in with about 12 vice presidents with him. And Russ Coughlin fled the office, and the black producer sat in there, and he said, "Well, and so this, that, and the other about why I didn't have the show, et cetera, et cetera." Anyway, So he said, well, he started to tell him about, well, you know, Jerry, she did this and did that, didn't do it, whatever. And he said, we didn't get the thing together. And he said, look, you don't have, Joe said, you don't have to tell me about this lady. Our houses were back to back in West Oakland where we grew up together. I know this woman. What I came here to find out is who you are. Shut him up. And so anyway, so that all, for a while they stayed off, you know, and then literally finally they gave me a couple of little shows that I was to have. But that's when they asked me to go on the air and ask the mothers of these black children to take mandatory testing, which is still on the books in state legislature in California. At any time they could rearrange, still on the books. When the black doctors are putting out in the paper, they're getting ready to try mandatory testing on our children. This is what Hitler did, you know. And so I went to so the guy said, well, we want you to get up and ask these people I grew up with to bring their children. I said, well, look, I'm not doing that. And I at least would like to see a little more. I would like to do a little more investigative reporting if you want me to do that show. He said, oh, I already did I already did the investigative reporting. What producer ever didn't get excited when you wanted to put more time in to look at it? He didn't want me. He said, no, I've looked at it already. It's okay. I said, well, I'm not doing this because I have these names of these doctors, one of which became the first black president of the American Medical Association. So the AMA. So this guy was big time. I have all of those letters, still have them in my files. The letters, all the information he gave me, and gave me the scientific papers from the colleges that said what they're trying to do, mandatory testing for young black kids. So I said, well, I'm not doing it. He said, well, if you don't do it, you're fired. I said, it's okay with me. And I turned around and walked out. So, and another day, the next afternoon, Russ Coughlin called me into the office. Now this is really a surprise. I know that God did this because I know I'm not this brainy, what I did. I would have went there and did it, you know. They were expecting me. Russ Coughlin was there now, but he had 2 vice presidents with him. I think he thought I was going to do the soul sister thing. They're really scared of us, I'm telling you. You know, don't look at me like that, you know. But anyway, I went in, and it was just, I didn't even think through it. It was like, I went in and I already knew what I was going to do. Because of my beliefs, I was not going to do that show. I had the backing of all these doctors, the letters to show them. I had nothing to be ashamed of. So I walked into Russ Coughlin, and he said, well, I'd like to give you he was standing behind his desk. I'd like to have you read this. Your services are no longer required. Your last day will be so-and-so. And they all were looking to see how I was going to take it. Well, you see, when you are trouble, and people have brought you over under false pretenses and taken your show away from you, except for the few that I did, you don't want to be there anyway, but you're not leaving because you know what their game is. They thought I was staying because, oh, well, we know we're going to have to do something because she's going to stay and if we fire her, she's taking all this stuff because we're going to fire her and she'll want her unemployment. Because that's what black people do. They figured. So I walked in. I walked up to Russ. Took both his, may I have your hand, please? I put my hand on. Russ, it's been an absolute honor and pleasure to work with you. Went over to the vice presidents, whom I did not know. Honor and pleasure to work with you. I said, are my papers all in order? Because they thought, report to unemployment. Oh yeah, your papers are all in order. I said, fine. Thank you. I was so polite. I walked out the door. It was all over the 3rd floor. They came. They said, we heard you thank them for firing you. I said, well, what did you do? I said, honey, you have to learn to look in the face of your enemy and see God as your teacher.
Right.
And I said that to the black guy that was going to go upstairs and actually did the thing. And he went like this. He sucked his breath and he couldn't believe it. He's like, oh, how could you do that? I said, it's easy when you know where you're coming from. I'm coming from here. And I am not sending those little black children to go get a thing when the black doctor said it's mandatory test and we don't know what's in it.
Right.
He went right on, stepped upstairs, did the show, whatever it was, and this is the coup de grace, the thing I'm proudest of. And when I talk about aging, let me tell you what aging is. It's you sitting down, remember old times you didn't do what you should have done. And you get real mad at yourself because the people you would have told off are dead. And you can't go dig them up. You can't, oh man, I should have cussed that guy out. And you know you do that. Oh, I should have apologized to that lady. You get lines in your face. You get, yeah. I did everything to those so-and-sos that I had to do at KGO. And they knew it. So this is what happened. I called up Teddy, who had just started the Love Boat, I think it was, or That's My Mama, one of those. He was getting a little money, and all I had to do was make a few little things. I said, well, Michael, can you come over and live in the city with me, and we'll split the rent, because I don't have a job anymore, and blah, 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 and Teddy, you do this and that. Well, anyway, my boys have always supported me. So I said, Teddy, I'm not to put one foot in the unemployment office, because they've got to know I stayed there and took all that stuff from them because I knew what I was there for. It was a matter of what I believed was something, a thing of honor. And since they don't know anything about honor, you know, they surely don't think you know anything about honor. I said, I wanted to know it was not about the money. To this day, that's a lot of money because it's about, I don't know how many weeks that is. I never set foot in the unemployment office, and I know what they were doing behind the scenes because I knew they did to other black people. They know they got to pay you, but they make it difficult. They throw the little things. They, to go to court. They must have called down the unemployment office and said, well, did she come in yet? What do you mean she didn't come in yet? And I never did show up, and that's when they really got scared of me. Because I was walking around, and so one white girl came up to me one day on the street, on Geary or something, and said, Jerry, you know, they're really scared of you because you're living without any visible means of support. Oh. They didn't know that Michael was coming in an underground Golden Gateway, you know. I mean, he was coming in under, and I didn't have a boyfriend. They probably checked that out. And so they wondered, where's she getting her money from, you know? And so my point is, that's a lot of money to give up. But let me tell you, I have fed off of that, but every time I think I did that, I just say, oh, that was the most beautiful thing in the world to give up that money. Much as I needed it. I didn't have a lot of money, but I gave up what I didn't have because you get it back in something that's worth so much more than money. And so I'm saying, do what you have to do. If you're right, and I've been told this, the whole universe is behind you. Right. And I have a picture of a black Jesus in dreads that an artist gave to my son to give to me. And behind him is, I didn't know what it was all these faces. It's the army that we pray to today, our ancestors. All the ancestors are behind this black Jesus, got on this robe, and it looks like a million faces. He keeps doing all the whole painting. It's that big. On my wall. I see that was the army took me through that. You know, so what I'm saying is you age when you don't do what you know you're supposed to do. Yes. And so I thank God for letting me let Russ Cosman know what I thought of him at the time that he was still alive, because he dropped dead of a heart attack. Not, you know, and, yeah, he died at 55. Wow. So I'm saying to you, really, it's just not honoring the ancestors. It's honoring yourself for taking all these little hits that you take. I mean, be proud of yourself, because we don't do that. And a guy by the name of, I can't think of the guy, and you must know the writer down in Monterey, Cannery Row. You know who he is, I know. But anyway, very famous white writer.
John Steinbeck.
John Steinbeck.
Yeah.
He wrote, I have a paper, I'll try and get the copy so you can read it at the next meeting. It's unbelievable. Nobody ever knows he gave it. He has a letter to Saturday, remember Saturday Review? Is that the name of that book that was on, was in, way back in the 40s he wrote it, and talk about the Negro. That's what we call this Negro. He talks about all the things that we have taken from the white man. You see, and this was a guy, he wasn't poor. John Steinbeck came from a middle-class, high-level middle-class family. They have never told anybody about that speech. It appeared in the Saturday Review. I have a copy of it. I don't know who gave me some people gave me it. Anyway, I have it. I found a copy of it. I'm going to be sure that I get it to you if I can find it again. I have it in the drawer. And he talked about all the things we've had to take, all the things they expect for us to do, and still we don't fight back. And we don't. He saw that as a strength. He saw that as a people that's superior to the people putting him down. And I was one day I wanted to go down to Salinas, where John Steinbeck's whole library is. and I'm hoping